A 40-year-old woman presents to her general practitioner in a restless, physically uncomfortable state. She describes feeling entirely washed out. Looking at this clinical intake form, we see the demographic baseline and her primary physical complaints. A 40-year-old female experiencing profound fatigue, persistent dry mouth, and a churning stomach. Adding the psychological and behavioral layers reveals a specific timeline. For 4 weeks, she has struggled with initial insomnia, an inability to fall asleep. During the day, she is visibly restless and experiences occasional tearfulness. The clinical history uncovers a clear precipitating stressor. Her mother died 3 months prior to this presentation. Immediate triage requires a safety baseline. The patient denies any thoughts of self-harm, neutralizing the need for emergency psychiatric intervention. When a patient presents with intense physical anxiety symptoms shortly after a major life stressor, clinicians face a high-risk triage scenario. The somatic distress and the recent bereavement easily obscure the true underlying pathology. Mild to moderate depressive episodes frequently bypass overt expressions of low mood. Instead, they operate behind a somatic mask, manifesting primarily through physical symptoms of anxiety. A prescriber might look at the dry mouth and physical restlessness and diagnose generalized anxiety disorder. Treating these physical symptoms in isolation leaves the core illness entirely unaddressed. The recent maternal loss introduces a second variable. We have to consider whether this entire presentation is simply a normal grief reaction. Normal bereavement has broad clinical boundaries. Experiencing intermittent tearfulness and sadness 3 months after losing a parent is both culturally acceptable and clinically expected. However, specific details in this vignette exceed the threshold of normal grief. The patient is experiencing pervasive initial insomnia lasting a full month, and straightforward everyday tasks have become actively challenging. Sadness is an acceptable response to loss, but persistent biological symptoms, like a 4-week inability to initiate sleep, combined with functional impairment, separate normal bereavement from a pathological state. This 3-column matrix evaluates the primary differentials based on the patient's presentation: normal grief, adjustment disorder, and major depressive disorder. Adjustment disorder occurs when a patient has a distress reaction to an identifiable stressor that is out of proportion to the event, but the symptoms do not meet the full criteria for another specific disorder. When we map the patient's low mood and tearfulness, we see these data points overlap entirely across all 3 columns. They are not diagnostically specific. The initial insomnia isolates the diagnosis. Pervasive sleep disturbance is a core vegetative symptom of depression, pointing away from a mere adjustment issue. Next, we map her functional decline. Finding ordinary tasks challenging is a primary indicator of an active clinical depressive episode. Finally, we map the dry mouth and restless stomach. In the mild to moderate severity ranges of major depressive disorder, a mixed anxiety-depression presentation is highly prevalent. The grief reaction served as the precipitating mechanism for this episode, but the sheer weight of the biological and functional symptoms confirms an independent diagnosis: mild to moderate major depressive disorder with anxiety features. To rapidly identify this exact presentation on board exams, we use a specific mnemonic. This vertical text, mild mood crisis, locks in the diagnostic pattern. The M establishes the precipitating event. The mother died, serving as the stressor. Moving to the psychological and physical presentation, I and R stand for insomnia and irritable or restless behavior. Capturing the cognitive and energy impacts, L and D represent low energy and difficulty concentrating. The final concepts frame the exact severity of the disorder. Her mood is low but not severe, and ordinary tasks have become challenging. Memorizing this sequence allows a clinician to filter a complex, heavily anxious presentation down to a clear, actionable diagnosis of major depressive disorder. Management of this confirmed diagnosis requires 3 specific clinical pillars. This flowchart breaks down the distinct pathways: pharmacotherapy, psychotherapy and support, and monitoring. The evidence-based first-line pharmacologic intervention is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, specifically sertraline or citalopram. Parallel supportive treatments are mandatory. Before escalating to stronger interventions, the patient requires psychoeducation,
strict sleep hygiene protocols, and a period of watchful waiting. The prescriber must clearly communicate the clinical timeline for SSRIs. The patient needs to know there will be a 4 to 6 week delay before the medication achieves full therapeutic response. Because of that delay, a short-term follow-up appointment must be scheduled within 2 to 4 weeks to bridge the gap and ensure stability. That stability check brings us to the crucial safety protocol, suicide monitoring. Even though the patient initially denied self-harm, depressive episodes are not static. Suicide risk must be continuously reassessed at every single clinical visit. Finally, addressing the precipitating factor directly improves long-term outcomes. A targeted psychosocial intervention, such as a referral to a dedicated grief support group, provides structured coping mechanisms. Accurate triage in psychiatric medicine requires seeing past the immediate distress. Mastering the distinction between normal grief, the somatic mask of anxiety, and true underlying mild to moderate depression is the precise skill that separates a competent prescriber from an exceptional diagnostician.